So Gamescom just happened, just finished up a couple days ago. Announcements happened, a lot of video games. Just going to be discussing some of them a little bit here and there, not going to all of the stuff that was announced, even though some good fun stuff that was, some little smaller stuff that I saw that looked pretty cool. But get into some kind of bigger stuff. I know Sage here is a big fan of Alan Wake 2, which had a trailer that premiered here at Gamescom. What are your thoughts on Alan Wake 2 right here?
Yeah, well, I've already gone on and on about just how much I love the series once, so I won't do that quite so much this time. But this particular trailer is really interesting. So the original game ends. Spoilers for the original. It ends with the main character being trapped in like a different kind of eldritch dimension where kind of imagination and things that are written and works of art are kind of brought to life in twisted ways. He's lost and trapped there. And the previous trailers we got at the PlayStation Showcase, it was very much about, this game split into two characters, and it was very much about this new character, this woman, this FBI agent, is coming to investigate, and that's kind of the entry point for people who maybe didn't play the first game. Now this trailer, this new footage we got, now we're seeing the other half of the game. Now we're seeing Alan trapped in this other dimension, which is largely taking the form of a very dirty, gritty, noir New York setting. And the main reason for that is because the books that he was famous for writing, which is the Alex Casey novels, that's just Max Payne. It's just legally distinct Max Payne with a different name, so they don't have to deal with rights issues. He's trapped in the setting of Max Payne, that this eldritch reality has kind of given shape and given form. And I think the two big things here that I would take away is you can see that this is a much harder horror game than the original. The original was more of a psychological action game, but it wasn't very scary. It had horror elements to it. This one is survival horror. The monsters look creepier. A lot of this has been redesigned. There's less encounters with enemies. You are encouraged to solve a lot more puzzles. One of the big changes to the gameplay that you're seeing in some of the footage is you actually are having writing. That's Max Payne holding. Yeah, that's Max Payne.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Casey, again, but legally distinct Max Payne corner. It's his own creation, like cornering him and like threatening him over his existence there. So it's very weird. You get some abstract ideas going on here. And I think one of the biggest ways you can see that is that they are making the act of reality shifting a gameplay mechanic. So you go into this menu and you have like a storyboard. It's almost like a Sherlock Holmes style like mind palace, and you have plot ideas, characters, settings, all these things that a writer would mix and match to write a story. And you as the player actually get to take these things, combine them, and then when you pull yourself out of the menu, you are actually seeing in real time completely different environments like grow and change out of each other. So that's, in the original, the fact that the main character was a writer is a big part of story. Didn't really factor into the gameplay. And now I think they've cleverly found a way to really make it feel like, you're actually engaging in the writing and altering of the reality around you as a game. I think that's really cool and very unique, and definitely only possible because of the new concept.
It's going to get into the head of a writer, huh? In this game,
yeah,
pretty much.
Very much so. Well, he's been trapped there for 13 years, and they've said, in real time, he has been trapped in an eldritch, hell dimension where he can't ever trust what he sees for 13 years. That's why he's got the rugged, older John Wick kind of feel to him.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks very much like John Wick, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just totally an accident, but I'm really excited for this. You can also see maybe a little bit of that footage. You might notice is fully live action. Remedy's always done some live action integration. The comic book panel cutscenes in the original two Max Payne games are all real photos that are just stylized on a computer. So they've always had this interesting play where they do live action footage, and Alan Wake 2 appears to be doing the most they've ever done, where like you are cutting away to entire sequences of just real live acting being done inside the game. A little bit in that trailer when he's on what looks like a talk show. All of that is just real footage with real actors.
Yeah, and I know that one actor. I recognize him, the one who's the host. He was John
David Harewood,
Jones,
I
and
think.
yeah, he played John Jones in the Supergirl show, Martian Manhunter.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I was one of the 50 people that watched Supergirl. So yeah, that's why I know him. So yeah. So it does look really good, especially when you see some of the game footage there. It does look very good, trippy. It does look very kind of a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
the
gonna
horror
be
elements.
very weird and psychological.
Yeah,
I
and
guess
it's
one
coming out
other
at the
thing,
perfect time.
maybe. Yeah, right
Uh,
before Halloween. It was actually the October 17th, and then they moved it because they didn't want to compete with Spider-Man. Was the big thing. One other
yeah,
thing too, this will be my last word on this one. They have made a very big point of saying you don't need to play Max Payne, you don't need to play Control, you don't even need to play Alan Wake 1. This game is designed to be extremely newcomer friendly, especially with that FBI agent character. It's a very good gateway. All their games are kind of designed as though they could be the first game of their split.
nice. I was gonna mention Control. Yeah, some of the stuff kind of looks a little bit like Control. There, I was gonna mention that game too. Yeah, someone kind of has a kind of Control type aspect to it. So October 27th, it's coming out this year. Yeah, it looks really good. Looks exciting for sure. All right. Is there anything you had specifically you want to discuss next?
Um, so my big three. So Alan Wake 2, Mortal Kombat was another one that I was very, that's another big one for me.
Okay, we could pull. I got that right here. I got this trailer. So, MK1. We're going all the way back to. It's a reboot. Going back to the beginning
Yep.
again. It's a new universe. Liu Kang is the god here. And he's kind of set his own rules here. And got kind of a new kind of setup. So in this trailer, it's revealing two new characters in the game. That's going to be an MK1. Not new to the franchise. So far in this MK1, there's no new characters. It's all characters that we've seen before. And the characters that we see in this trailer is General Shao and Sindel are the two characters we're
Yeah.
going to introduce in this trailer here. And you see that it's General Shao here. He's the general in Sindel's army. How does this variation kind of differ than what we've seen from other variations of Sindel and Shao?
I think Sindel of the two is less different. I think she feels pretty in line with a lot of the personalities I've seen before. Because, in particular, in the last game 11, her being a little bit more of a heel turning villain, that was kind of a unique to 11. Previously in the past, she's been more of a, you know, can be brutal and stuff, but is a just ruler that's maybe sometimes under mind control, but generally like a good ruler and not necessarily actively antagonistic. And then you got General Shao, which I think he's the more different one of the two, kind of reinterpreting him as the general of her army instead of him being the Khan, the ruler of this place. I think that's a cool change in it. It seems like some of the trouble is starting in the story because he's pushing as an advisor to the queen to kind of turn against Liu Kang or turn against the Earth Realm. And I think it's what I'm noticing about a lot of the different characters, the villains, the way the villains specifically are different, is it seems like Liu Kang tried to kneecap all of the major antagonists from the rest of the games. They read a little bit more too than just what's in this trailer, but apparently Shao Kahn was like a extremely like sick, crippled child, like right at birth. Like he was like oh, might not even survive very long. And his dad basically was just like, make that baby walk it off. He'll get tougher. And eventually, kind of Shao Kahn, through sheer force of will, became this big, heavy hitting, figure in this world. Anyway, so it seems like a lot of the story is Liu Kang trying to solve people's problems, trying to make these villains not have so much power, and yet the world wants to kind of calibrate itself and fall into its own patterns again. And so it's I think that's kind of the big interesting thing I see here is it's almost like the universe is trying to course correct itself despite the changes that he's made.
Yeah. And you see, so it's going to be a tournament. Obviously, it's always Mortal Kombat's got to be a big tournament. And Raiden, it's reversed. So Liu Kang's the god as opposed to Raiden being the god and Liu being the champion. Now it's Liu's the god and Raiden is going to be the champion, represented as from Earth there, as you see. So you see a little bit of difference there. Um, huh. And with
Kung Lao is
Sindel,
going to
so
be
she.
jealous.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. Kung Lao never gets his opportunity, man. He's always just the
No,
second
no,
man.
he's
Yeah,
always. I thought I was expecting him to be like the front facing champion this time, and because he's always wanted it, and Liu Kang knows that, and he's like, nope,
yeah,
passing you over.
yeah. And it seems like so Sindel actually looks more like she could be Katana's mom. Like she and the actress who plays
Oh
her
yeah,
very.
from a visual perspective, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know if Sindel was supposed to be because in the last one she seemed more like she was white. In the last one here, she seems more distinctly Asian
I think
here.
that was just I think that was just the character design not feeling the way that it maybe was supposed to. I maybe just their design just was a little flawed, or because I think the intention has always been that she's Asian, even if maybe the character model didn't always look quite right or dead on. To me that this is just a more fully realized version of what she's always kind of supposed to have been. That's
Mm,
just me.
yeah. And you see some of the similar moves that she has with the hair and everything like that.
The
That you
hair and the
see.
sonic screams kind of thing.
Yeah. With Shao, you see a difference. Like instead of a hammer, it's an axe. So he's kind of got a little bit different there. So it's a little bit of a different move set there with him. With Raiden, you see kind of a little bit of a different move set that he has there, but he still has his lightning powers that you kind
Yeah.
of see. Let me advance a little bit here. He still has his lightning abilities. And I was asking you, I was like, how are they going to explain why he has lightning abilities? You're like, probably not. They're probably not going to explain why he has lightning.
To be
Uh,
honest, Liu Kang always had fire powers for no real reason before, so I don't think they're really going to say anything. I think this is kind of a take it or leave it thing.
Yeah. Somebody was playing the game and early versions of it, and apparently he does like a when they do the whole clash thing before they start fighting, and they do the little dialogue, uh,
Mhm.
saying that he says like Raiden's people think that instead of Fujin being the brother, it's going to be a female version of Fujin, and it's going to be the goddess of, I guess, wind or something. Like he's going to have a
Okay,
sister who can do wind. Maybe people speculating that.
I can do
Cal
both. Why not?
Forrest, he's in here. Hey, how's it going there, man?
Oh,
Much
hey,
appreciated.
hey, Cal.
Uh, Rated you last time. So yeah. So people are saying that. This game is coming out pretty soon. Just about a few weeks away, 4 weeks away.
Yes, I believe I had to double check because I think I had the date wrong the last time I said it, but the official release date is Tuesday, September 19th. And if you pre-order the like limited edition or whatever that gets like the season pass included, you get it early on September 14th. Kind of have an
Okay.
extra half a week or so to kind of play it and kind of learn the mechanics before everybody else gets a chance.
Yeah.
See, just
Well,
a little bit.
I mean, you already have the pro players who are already way ahead already.
Oh
They
yeah,
already.
you could give me any or no matter how much early time you give me, I'm never gonna be quite able to compete with them.
Um, yeah, and apparently, from what I've seen, people say that Johnny Cage is really great. He has no projectile though. Great rushdown character, apparently. Like you really had to get up close, and he really can mix you up and do everything. Of course, Sub Zero is always going to be pretty cheap, with a lot of his move sets. So a lot of people talk about him. But Kenshin seems to be really strong as well.
Yeah, he's the most complicated for sure. So out of the ones in the beta, at least, he had the most complex moveset. And I got a little practice in. I really liked using him, but he's definitely going to take more practice than the rest of them to get in and really use effect.
Yeah, but it seems like the most easy mode character is probably Lee May. Some people saying Lee May is probably the most
That's what
easy.
I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she felt like by far the easiest to pick up in the movie. I mean, I'd also say after playing the beta, I think the whole game feels easier to pick up and play as a casual audience member versus 10, 11. I thought they felt like maybe we're catering a little bit more towards the fighting game community, a little more towards tournament play. And I feel like 9 was the last one that was like this is the casual fighting game. It's simple. There's no customization to do with the characters. They just are the way they are. And I like that it feels like we're getting a little bit closer to that this time.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of about a character that was in Mortal Kombat, RoboCop. RoboCop has a game coming out. I don't know. Maybe I'm somewhat a little interested in this. They did some more
I haven't
gameplay kind
even
of
seen
footage
this
of.
trailer, I'll be honest.
Okay. It was they did some kind of some gameplay footage of it. You can see a longer version on IGN. They did a whole 19 minutes of it, and
Okay.
yeah, it's a first person shooter. There that you have people, of course, RoboCop from the classic 1980. When did that movie come out? 1980. Was it
81,
89?
82? Or was it? Oh, it
80.
was no. Yeah, you're right. It was low. It was closer to the end. Either 88 or 89. I think.
Yeah, maybe. I think it was let's see. Oh, 87. That was close. 87.
87.
There.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so first person shooter type game, will it just kind of get past some nostalgia of like, hey, I'm playing as RoboCop, you know what I mean? I'm playing in some of the same
Right.
areas as the movie, everything like that. Because from what I'm looking at, it's like, okay, it seems like kind of a lot of kind of basic stuff here. The shooting, you get to see like through his visor of the RoboCop type visor that you see there. I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, nothing really particularly that stands out to me as like, oh, it's super, super impressive, other than the nostalgia of like, hey, it's this RoboCop. But it's called RoboCop Rogue City, is what it's called. What do you think about a RoboCop game? Just the
I
thought of
think
that.
there's definitely potential in it. It's a tricky thing with a lot of IP based or a lot of like licensed games. There's a pretty good history of them not being the best and them being kind of cash grabs just based on the IP. So I I'd be curious to watch that longer demo that you said they had on IGN, just to see kind of what it feels like in a more unbroken sequence of gameplay. But I definitely think there's potential. I mean, of all the ways you could continue that franchise, I think a video game is a much better idea than trying to do another movie.
Yeah, trying to do the movie. I mean, we haven't seen the RoboCop movie. When did that remake come out? What, 2013? 2012, 2013?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. That RoboCop remake came out. And yeah, it just took all the teeth out of the 1987 version. That was kind of the biggest thing.
Yes, it did.
Uh, so yeah. But if you can hunt down and kill like the character from the 1987 movie, maybe that's a win. I don't know. You get your chance to shoot his dick off or something like that.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's my number one requirement for this to be a successful game is I better at least be able to shoot one dude's dick off. That's like the
Yeah.
number one request.
Can you do that? Hmm. So moving on, something else that you're a big fan of here, Sage. Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings: Return of Moria. I believe is how you say it.
Yeah,
Have you seen? And you said you haven't seen the trailer for this game. You only heard about it.
I remember seeing a trailer for it back at I think Summer Games Fest, and then I don't think I caught this new trailer. But
Oh,
based on the footage, it
okay.
looks similar to the last one I saw. So I think it seems like it's very base build heavy. Like it feels like more like something akin to like maybe not exactly, but it seems like something more like a Minecraft or a Stardew, like more about building your environments, like not far obviously, but like it just seems like and there's more combat here too than in a lot of those games. But it does feel like it's more about building out your environment and managing resources than it is like a straightforward like narrative. Um, Not probably super for me just based on the style of game. But I'm sure that there's a lot of Lord of the Rings fans that like that kind of game and would be super into the idea.
You never wanted to be a dwarf and build your own dwarf kingdom and things like that.
Not
Build and
really.
mine.
Yeah, the building games don't really do it for me. I want like I want my ultra violence.
Well, I actually recently just did a list of like best Lord of the Rings game, and then I think what do you think is the best Lord of the Ring game? Lord of the Ring, is it Shadow of
Hmm.
Mordor?
It might be the first Shadow of Mordor game. I do like that a lot. I also, it's not as good, but I do think the specifically the third movie game, the movie tie-in from like the GameCube, Xbox era, the Return of the King tie-in game. I thought that was actually really well designed, kind of underrated as far as like movie tie-in games go. But yeah, Shadow of Mordor that's probably my favorite. Yeah.
So this game, Lord of the Rings, Return of Moria. So it's about, so you take control of Gimli, who's the lead character here, and try to retake their homeland of Moria and restore the long lost ancient kingdom of Khazad-dûm. Khazad-dûm.
Oh, yeah, Khazad-dûm.
Khazad-dûm. Yeah, it's trying to restore the long lost ancient kingdom there. So that's basically the premise of this game that you have here. And it's coming out. The RoboCop game, I don't think had a date for that, whether that's going to come out, but this is coming out October 24th, so close to Alan Wake.
Okay.
So
There's so much coming out in October in general. It's going to be a packed month.
yeah. Let me pull up. Got a couple more trailers here that I kind of want to mention. Black Myth is the one I want to mention. Let me grab that trailer real
Yeah,
quick.
this is. I'd say if I had like a big three from the show, this would be my third one after Alan and Mortal Kombat.
Let's see. Here we go. So yeah, Black Myth. This game, so it's based off what I'm apparently it's like the Chinese legend. So if you people have ever watched Dragon Ball Z, it's basically with the character Goku. A lot of his legends, like this is kind of what's partly inspired by here. And I
Yeah,
had mentioned
Journey
this
to the
game,
West is the original story.
Journey to the West. It seems like this game, because I've heard about this game for a while. It seems like it's been in development for a long time now. It seems like.
Yeah, the first trailer dropped in August of 2020.
Wow. So yeah, 3 years ago. What do you love about this trailer?
Well, I can't claim to be an expert on this particular piece of mythology for sure by any means. I know little bits and pieces. Uh, and actually, a good friend of mine is originally from China, and she translated some of the dialogue and some of the interviews that they did about it. Interesting thing is this is a kind of a trying to be a somewhat direct. I'm sure they have some of their own things they're putting into it, but a somewhat direct adaptation of that Journey to the West story, and they're actually using a version of the text that is like from like 1600 something,
Mm,
and it's like in a dialect of language that like only like historians and scholars can even read. So I think that's really cool. So they're pulling from, they're really going to the old world to tell the story. And from the gameplay perspective, it's kind of almost like a halfway point between something like a God of War and your Elden Ring or your Dark Souls style of game. You can
yeah.
kind of see it borrowing elements from both of those things and fusing them together a little bit. I'll be curious to see how difficult this actually ends up being. If it's more like a Souls game, obviously being on the more ultra hard kind of end of things versus a God of War, where like God of War has hard moments, but like generally, I think if you've played a lot of games, that they're not very difficult. So that's the balance I'm curious how they're going to strike. But yeah, from just the visual perspective, you don't I feel like you really see a lot of like really like fantastical fleshed out, at least in video games, Chinese myths. It's just something, at least unless I'm missing them, and there's a bunch of great ones out there that I've just not come across. So it feels really, really unique. Bringing something to the landscape of video games culturally that we don't have. I just think that's really cool. And on top of that, it looks like it feels fluid to play. Especially if you're pulling like from the Souls games and all the different combat styles in those. None of those really have like a pole arm as a weapon. So that's like, really kind of centering everything around a different weapon than we normally get and kind of fleshing that out into the combat system. I'm pumped for this. This has been at the top of my like list of most anticipated games since that very first trailer came out. which, at the time, that was just a proof of concept. It was like, cool trailer, but like, you're actually going to make a game that's this impressive looking. And based on all the previews I've read, people got invited to play, roughly an hour's worth of the game, fight like 3 bosses, traverse a bunch of areas, look at
Wow.
like the upgrade system. And the word of mouth is that it is just as fluid and well put together as the concept trailers made it look like it. So this is something I'm incredibly excited.
Yeah. Even the game is described as being very Souls-like. You can see that in the gameplay. You see in this trailer here. It also integrating a lot of the Chinese mythology would be very interesting to see. The game looks gorgeous, by the way. It looks really great. A lot of the creatures and monsters here that you see look very good. Yeah, I mean, when this game got first announced, it was kind of on my radar too. I was like, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that proof of concept trailer. And the initial release date for this is going to be in 2024. Apparently, it has no hard release date yet for this.
I think they're targeting it to be August, but that's not set in stone. But I think they want to have it be like kind of an anniversary of the announcement kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, you see like running some interesting characters here. Like you see a tiger, you see this dragon crocodile looking creature. Yeah, I mean, whatever the hell this thing is, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the look of it is really amazing too.
That big white thing rolling around is like a centipede with like frog legs too.
Yeah. So it looks like a lot of really interesting boss battles. It looks like a lot of these are boss battles that you have here. It's really great. So it's amazing that people are allowed to, like you said, fight at least 3 bosses and traverse a lot of different areas. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this. Absolutely. I mean, this is definitely highly anticipated from me as well. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to say that God of War was that, especially if you put God of War on like the one of the most difficult modes. I don't know. God of War is pretty hard, man.
Oh yeah. If you up the difficulty, absolutely. I guess I was just thinking like your standard kind of medium version is like hard at times, but pretty forgiving. Whereas like Dark Souls doesn't have a difficulty slider. It's just like kind of fuck you at all times.
True. I haven't played a Souls game yet. I haven't played like any Souls game or Elden Ring or anything like that. I don't know. Elden Ring just seems very much I just like, man, that's like so much time.
It's big. I have at this point done 28 episodes, 28 streams, and my co-host Tim says that we are about 60% of the way through at 28 episodes. Wow. So it's a long one.
Yeah. Let's see what else here. I wanted to bring up another trailer for another video game. We talked about some of the bigger ones, but let's see one that weren't as big. There was one called Death Ground. You didn't see a trailer for this one, did you?
I don't think so. Or at least if I did, I maybe I was out of the room during that footage. But yeah, this does not look familiar to me.
Seems like very much like a kind of like Jurassic Park type thing. Do you remember that game, Alien Isolation?
Yeah.
It seems like it's just that, but with dinosaurs. Like you see like the people skulking around. You see they're using like radars, things like that.
Oh,
it's not really my type of game.
Straight out of Alien.
Yeah, which is not really my type of game. It's not reason why. That's the reason I didn't really play Alien Isolation. It just seems like I like to be more active in games.
I
really
agree.
there.
Yeah,
it just seems like
it would be really interesting. It would be interesting to see because maybe that looks like there's a couple of shots where you have a gun in here, and I wonder if maybe there is some combat. I guess I'd be curious to see how heavy the combat is because there's also long time ago there was the franchise under Capcom, Dino Crisis, which was basically Resident Evil but was dinosaurs instead of zombies. And that's something that I feel like it's almost been like, we could use a new one of those. But it would depend entirely on how much combat.
Yeah, so that was kind of some of the trailers I want to talk about. And then there was like some random moment that happened where somebody just ran up on stage. I kind of want to quick. Were you seeing this live when this happened?
I'm not allowed to
did.
say
I
anything
did watch it
about
live.
it. Yes, exactly. All right. Well, guys. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Really disappointed. They're disappointed.
Yeah.
That's just so disappointing. This is such a special night for so many developers. It's really disappointing to see someone act that way. But we're going to move right on with the show.
So he was saying, what was he saying? Bill Clinton wants to play GTA 6.
Yeah, apparently I didn't realize this, but I'm seeing later after the fact that apparently this guy in particular has crashed like a bunch of different like shows. Like I saw footage of him on like some talk show running up on stage, and every time it's GTA 6. Like he's just something about GT. He's just like, give me GTA 6, and it's like things. I footage of him doing this to things that didn't even have anything to do with video games. He's running up on stage and getting in people's faces. Super obnoxious. Yeah, and it, like I think you said the other day, it's like he couldn't even be original about it. That's like there's that kid at the Game Awards last year that did the thing, and something about Bill Clinton being his rabbi or something like that, and then like you can't even do it original if you're gonna heckle. Like, at least be creative about it. It's like you shouldn't do it at all.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna do it, at least like I don't know.
Yeah, at least be original. Say a different president.
Yeah.
Say Reagan or
Yeah.
something. At least put your own kind of spin on it. Just saying the same person.
Yeah,
but I mean,
something like Robo Reagan or I don't know.
Robo Reagan,
Yeah,
dementia
on
Reagan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that was just kind of weird there. Yeah. So it's crazy enough. So this guy's done this a bunch of other places. I mean, I don't want to be on this guy's side, but I mean, I do kind of want GTA 6. I want to know what's going on with that. What's the skinny on that? I do.
Well, it's definitely in the works. So we don't know too much about it, but we know it's happening. We do know it's happening.
Yeah. How do you think Jeff Keighley handled it? How do you think?
I think that was pretty professional. He's like, hey, this is disappointing, but we're gonna move on. We got a show to do. I think he handled it like a champ. It was the last time when that kid went up on stage at the Game Awards. He wasn't on stage. It was the people accepting the award and like other people that were up there. So I guess maybe the thing that was different about this one was that Jeff Keighley got to actually have a live reaction himself. But I felt kind of bad for him. I'm like, this is the second time in a row. But the other side of that was like, man, did you not like push for some like better security after that happened last time? Like, is there maybe a way to like notice these people doing this like ahead of time? But I don't know. Maybe I'm just making it sound simpler than it is.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. Yeah, because he got right up close to him. Could have done anything to Jeff Keighley if he wanted to.
Yeah, if that had been someone with violent intentions, Jeff Keighley would be dead. If the guy really wanted, if that was what he was trying to do, like he could have killed him. So yeah, I would hope that they take this as a sign to improve their security.
Yeah, I mean it's sad to think about that, but I mean, sometimes you got to think of the worst case scenario, maybe. I wonder what do you know with the audience, because it seemed like the audience screamed something there. They would like sit down, or you're a loser. Or
yeah, I couldn't something like that. I couldn't 100% make it out what they were saying, but
let me see if I can make it out here. Let me go back real quick.
Well, guys. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Really disappointed. They're disappointed. That's just so disappointing. This is such a special night for.
Yeah, I don't know. It was something like a mixture like boo.
This guy sounded like booze.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something else. I couldn't really make it out. Yeah. So apparently this guy just he's got a track record of doing this. Huh? Is he like some influencer or something like that?
I don't totally know. I'm assuming it's something like that, and he just is like, give me attention, give me clout, give me internet points. And he just the only way he is able to get attention is by being obnoxious.
Yeah. So overall, what do you think? Gamescom, what rating would you give it? Pretty good show, middle.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. I mean, Gamescom is one of those where it's been around a long time. It's always in Germany in August. I've tuned into it for years at this point. And I think this is actually, out of all the Gamescoms I've watched, I think this is one of the stronger ones. Because often I feel like it's like, 2-3 trailers at the most I'm interested in, but all the ones that you showed, and then there were a couple other indie games that I didn't make a point to mention. But there's a couple other little things I thought looked interesting. I definitely think this was a better show than most other Gamescoms, at least.
Yeah. There was some smaller indie games. There was one that was a side scroller that kind of looked like one of those Disney games, like back when you in the 90s, like Lion King or something like that.
Yeah, I do think I saw that. There's one in the pre-show that I thought looked interesting called Post Trauma, and it was like fixed camera angle horror, kind of mimicking like the original Resident Evil style. And that kind of looked interesting too.
That's a good name. Post Trauma. Post Trauma. Damn, that's a good name of a Disney movie right there. Disney kids movie right there. Yeah. So yeah, that was Vinland Saga, that was Twisted Metal, and that was Gamescom. Did all that. Thank you, Sage, for joining me, man.